Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York, where we have the new guy, or the new chick, whatever. So what is the new chick doing?
New chick is at the Cairnheart getting to know the local spirits. Just talking to them, seeing what they're about, the things they like, the things they don't like, um, any stories that they'd like to share, that sort of thing. And she's sitting there with her computer, tapping away because she has a spider satchel. She loves that thing.
This is true, but I think in order for the computer to work in the Umbra, it must be a fetish.
Are you sure?
Like, you can do inherent things on the computer, but you can't, like, connect to the net or anything.
Oh no, she's not connected to the internet. She's taking notes. Like on a.
I couldn't tell you. I will assume that works.
I hope it works. If not, Moosh will just yell at me later.
Very possible.
It's fine. I'm used to it.
Oh, very well. Well, she is taking notes. And, darn, I thought she was out looking.
Well, she kind of figured that if there's only one Theurge in the Sept, the best place to find them would be just to plant yourself at the Cairnheart, and they'll eventually be there.
And just wait long enough. Sooner or later, that fucker's going to show up. It's a fair guess because it's accurate. And yeah, sooner or later, she will hear the soft kind of rasping jingle because 10 Point isn't moving energetically or jolting, but is approaching. With her crazy, like, enhanced antlered look, seeing as she does have some spirit heritage. And it does make them really, it doesn't make them glow, it doesn't make them massive, they just very much stand out as a presence. Favor is there.
You could have given me a shine horn. Damn you, Katie.
Maybe I will. You don't know.
So yeah, she's sitting there, and after a moment of hearing the bells, she finally sort of puts a hand down to rotate herself on the rock that she's sitting on, so she can see around. She just kind of lifts up her knees because she's still sitting Indian style. So when she comes around and she sees a person with antlers and some not overly obvious, but some spirit heritage, she gets this kind of like one side of the face lip curl upwards, like,
And as she whirls around and looks, she'll find that 10 Point is indeed entering the vicinity of the Cairnheart at the proverbial entrance, whether it's literal or not. And probably being not swarmed, but acknowledged by a number of the spirits there with her newly achieved rank. And as such is making very slow progress inwards as she pauses to interact with each of the Sept spirits that comes forward, that comes around her, that plays in her hair or her clothes, that perches on her antlers. Each and every one will be acknowledged.
and then suddenly the little entourage that Camille had around her have left. They have vacated for greener pastures. And she looks around, and she just kind of mutters, "So that's how much I meant to you all." And then she'll set the computer down and stand up and walk towards 10 Point.
And 10 Point does spare a glance, maybe even a second glance, because that is some pretty outrageous hair. But thankfully acknowledging the spirits isn't necessarily a very involved process with the smaller ones that flit around. So by the time there's a proper approach, she'll turn to regard this new person. Probably definitely attentive, definitely watching, but not sure who it is or what manner of address needs to be taken. So she will just watch her approach and wait for her to start first, as she is the one approaching.
Mm-hmm. And she makes her way and stands probably about like 5 to 7 feet from 10 point, invading the purple bubble and or the purple circle. And she'll put her hands in her pockets, and then she'll kind of rock up onto the balls of her foot, and kind of give that little bit of a so. I'm gonna go out on a guess and say that you're 10. She just like looks up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10 point.
The brow knits faintly. And you are?
Camille, night owl, deeded. I'm a theurge from the Glasswalkers. Got here a few hours ago.
Ah, I didn't hear a howl.
I made one.
She kind of. Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Or did you actually post one?
I did,
Oh,
but
well.
I'll just roll with it. Like, but
Maybe she was on the wrong side of the gauntlet, which would explain her confusion. Did the howl include her rank?
I believe it did. Pretty sure it did. Da, 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 da.
As her introduction just now did not.
I thought she said Clea, or maybe she didn't. Oh no, it didn't. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Just gonna roll with that then. But she'll kind of shrug it off and be like, I guess maybe when you guys have a voice like screams the huntsman's fury is reported to have, probably not all that special. So easy to forget. Yeah.
There's a faint tinge of amusement. It hits her eyes, even though she's not as easy to smile with a new person, but it's still there. It reflects. And your rank.
Oh, right. Cleith. 6 months of Cleith. It's still kind of weird to say.
It's a faintly thoughtful tilt of the head. But she'll nonetheless kind of pull herself up properly. And yes, I am 10 point. Metasporn Theurge, Fianna, foster into the nation, keeper of the lands and the sept of the green.
And being a Karen officer and a rank above her, she just like, oh, and just tilts her head back.
And yeah, all she's looking for is to see that it actually happens, and she knows better. It's almost immediately there's a light hand wave, not imperious, just a little. Now you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as she starts, just so that she knows that she knows.
So keeping the land, that's an important part of the duties of a theurge on a sept. She's like got this nod going.
A little like, yeah. She does finally upturn the corners of her lips, just faintly, because she's so strange.
So, Keeper Braya.
What has brought you to Sept? Do you plan to stay?
Well, the word that I got, that kind of came down the grapevine, and she'll kind of gesture towards her computer, was that this part of the Eastern Seaboard was a little bit light on the theurge action. And since there were like a lot of theurges back in Toronto, it was like, well, answer the call. So and she'll kind of lean to one side and put out one hand. So here I am. Me right here.
There's a faint nod of kind of thoughtless agreement to the idea of answering the call. And how practiced are you?
I'm really good with net spiders and pattern spiders. I get along with them pretty well. But most of what I was taught was practical, in the sense of, and she'll kind of pull out the mirror out of her pocket and tap it a few times. The spiritual sides of my education mostly dealt with the city spirits. This place has a lot more of the non-city based spirits, and I am finding myself a little bit at a loss.
And so Tempoid's brow has knitted very slightly. There's a little bit of a narrowing of the eyes, but it's obviously an expression of concern more than disapproval.
Like your tree and grass and water spirits here are far more wild than the ones I'm used to.
So you came from a city sept, but further in.
We didn't have a whole lot of green, other than what was pretty much inside, like, contained, spaces, like, giant planters and retaining walls and things like that. Nothing to this level.
And yeah, the lips kind of firm to a line like, ew. Not at her, obviously, but just to the notion. So she'll gesture out towards the park, which naturally, especially in the Umbra, is just that much more big and imposing and wild than it is in reality, where it's just a nice park. I imagine that you will adjust over time. But all the same, there's as much need for your area of expertise as there is for mine.
Well, I mean, I guess that's good then. You have a very experienced Theurge who's on the, and she'll kind of gesture to the very wild spirits. And then you've got me, which is better than no one.
Lips kind of firm briefly again. It's very fleeting, but she almost immediately moves on. It is. It's a good sight better than being alone. Are you aware of what's coming?
Just to be on the up and up. First off, I'm going to set the scene and the other scene.
What?
Dice roller.
Oh.
I'm just going to make sure I'm going to roll her Garu lore. Just to see.
She may have heard an inkling that there was some sort of tension, I guess. Not necessarily any of the details, unless someone's told you in character.
No. So something between you and the Get Septa Sentinel, I think, right?
There's kind of a pause. The mouth opens. She considers her words. And then finally, after a notable pause, speaks on. There is war on the horizon, Honore.
Oh, okay.
Well, I am, she kind of tilts her head, not sure. Just now, how your skills will apply to that. I cannot take the burden of earning boons for such a battle alone.
I can do what I can, but this is a sphere of influence I'm not used to. I'm just trying to be honest about that, so...
There's a thoughtful nod. In the meantime, have you introduced yourself to Great White Mouse? Have you made
No,
yourself known?
not yet. Didn't want to do that without talking to the keeper first.
There's a nod of agreement. Just a very, matter of course, like, yeah, that makes sense. And so she'll gesture onward, further into the Cairn Heart itself, wherein there does reside, I assume, a massive shrine to Great White Mouse, littered with all manner of offerings and all manner of little scurrying things.
And she'll look at it. So... And she'll reach into her bag and scuttle around in it, and you'll hear some clinking and clacking and crunkling and crinkling.
Those
And
are some interesting sound effects, some of which I can't even identify. Madness.
mhm. Well, I
I
mean,
don't know
her
what a
arm,
crunkle is, but it sounds serious.
well, her arm's going way down into the bag, so it's clearly a spider, or probably a spider satchel, considering she has a computer in the Umbra.
Yeah.
And she pulls out a like a golden confection wrapped in plastic, and she'll take the plastic off and put it back in her bag, and she'll recycle it later. And she'll infuse a point of gnosis into it, and then she'll set it down for the mice.
This will be looked on with approval. 10 will actually approach the shrine herself, and as she makes the offering, will begin kind of, well, tidying is probably a bit of a generous word. Great White Mouse doesn't necessarily expect tidy, but offerings that have gone off, as it were, are shifted to the ground where it's easier for the mice to get to them. Things are moved about in a way that, well, in some stream of logic, makes sense, but will be generally tended to before she pulls out a rag and wipes a portion of the shrine clear, setting out a cone of incense. She'll light that, looking back. And,
She's
well, the
got,
offering is made, yeah. She'll look to see how she follows up.
when you look back, she's got like mice on her shoulder and hands and head, and she is just talking to them. She's like, "Yeah, no, that Twinkie, yeah, they're really awesome. Um, like a whole box of them at least a day." Yeah, no, totally. Like a whole box of them here. Yeah, I can do that.
And so, yeah, when she looks back and she's conversing with the small spirits, 10 still has little mouse bro, who is probably clambered out of her hair and is, again, on her antler. In fact, he may, for all I know, run off to snag part of that Twinkie, run back, be cleaning the cream off his whiskers.
And as she goes on, you hear little bits of like, no, those are snowballs. You can tell because they're pink and not gold.
She has
And
no
then
idea what a Twinkie or a snowball is, but she is admittedly confused and still listening. She didn't know snowballs were pink. What the hell?
and she continues on. No, ho-hos. Yeah, they're like curled chocolate with cream on the inside. Oh, you guys like chocolate too? Well, I'll just hit up the bodega and get all manner of hostess stuff. You guys are right. Definitely peanut butter would be cool too. I also like peanut butter.
And 10 will finally have loosened up some, because she is making herself known and not being standoffish, not seeming to have any issues speaking to them. And as she steps away from the shrine, we'll pause long enough to set a hand. Actually, not even set a hand, but kind of hover it just over her shoulder, as though, like, going through the gesture as though she is meaning to touch her shoulder, though she will never actually make contact. And once the eyes, once she responds to the gesture, we'll pull the hand back.
She'll kind of look up.
Make sure you don't overpay. Stretch it out. It is good to leave offerings, and even frequently, particularly for Great White Mouse. But one must still be conscious of overpaying. If you overpay now, they will ask a higher price later.
Fair point. And she'll kind of let the spirits jump off, and she'll stand up.
But now that she and her children know who you are, good. And what should I expect from you?
Well, given that you guys are about to go to war, I could start talking to some of the Bone Gnars and other more worldly Garu, and get an idea of what logistically would be helpful at this point. That was kind of my specialty back home.
She'll nod ready agreement. I can't say this early whether the battleground will be Tellurian or Umbral. I imagine the latter. But if that is the case, and it is anything like previous battles, they will bring their own spirits, their own pack totems. Consider how the spirits that you know and work the best with can aid us.
I don't know how much help the Sept would really want from net spiders and pattern spiders, but I could commune with Cockroach.
And there's kind of a pause. Whatever the public opinion may be, however they might feel, we are a pack in a city. We are a Sept in a city. The Weaver is part of it, and the Weaver cannot. You don't blame a spirit for doing what comes naturally to it. You simply know what to expect. There are certainly ways in which even a net spider, even the drones, can aid if it really comes down to it. And I imagine even the Weaver would prefer to have the neighbors they know rather than the ones they do not.
Seems like that might be a slippery slope.
If anyone wishes to complain over what form aid comes in, they can complain to me. Just make sure that whatever you may plan, whatever you may consider, you bring it to me before you make the deals. They won't be tolerated on the Sept itself, but I imagine the battle won't happen here.
I know the spiders like to keep things ordered and neat. We might be able to get some help if we were to tend to some of the webs. Make sure they're clear of debris. That sort of thing. If they're not coming by Moonbridge, we could probably stall them up on their approach here. Are we officially at war?
Not yet. We will take no actions yet. But when battle comes, I can earn boons, and pack totems will certainly make an appearance, as will the Sept totem. But if your net spiders, if your Weaver spirits can interfere, with the participation of their totems, binding, making it more difficult for them to act. That is something. A thought. You know their strengths better than I do, I'm sure.
She'll sit back and tap her chin a little, or, well, not really sit back, but she'll lean back a little bit and tap her chin. I can see what I can do about recon in the area between here and there.
Give me one
At the
second.
very least... Oh.
Alright, sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
So sorry, what was she saying?
In the area between here and there, we can rule out things as like a Tolarian approach. Try and find scouts, that sort of thing. I would assume that any war effort that's worth its weight, even if it's not quite at war, has an advanced guard somewhere.
Perhaps, but taking action before war is declared. The are many things, but they are honorable. I don't imagine that they will enter our protectorate aggressively until such a time as it is truly declared.
She'll nod. I guess probably the best thing I can do is confer with Cockroach up front.
Take this time. Go into the city, make yourself known, both to Cockroach and to the Weaver spirits if they are amenable. And if you have the time, there are many duties here that need doing. And while I have many that have volunteered, I still lack any keepers who make it their duty.
It's a job that I can do fairly well. Probably need a little bit of guidance up front to deal with some of the more wild spirits here, ones that I haven't encountered, like
I'm happy to teach.
And yeah, I mean, I can do maintenance and whatnot, and I'm pretty good at round-the-clock vigils, so if you need someone to take the red eye...
She kind of tilts her head.
Graveyard... I don't sleep a lot.
Ah.
So rather than just, spending downtime hours around my apartment around Seps, just kind of loafing and socializing with the few people that are night owls like me, I can be doing duties so that way at least the spirits of this hept are happy with round-the-clock maintenance.
For now, yes. When you have the time, make it a commitment to come here. And while there are many who can clean the shrines and maintain those, there are only so many who can speak to the spirits and ensure that they are happy. So walk the Sept, walk the Umbra. Make sure that the spirits themselves are tended, that any issues are seen to, and I will be speaking with them. If they are pleased with your work, I will make you a keeper.
Sounds like a plan.
There's a light nod and something of, while it's a bit mild, an encouraging sort of smile.
One quick question, Raya.
Of course, Henry.
I was at a service this evening. Your packmate, Saoirse, Colin, and Kailani as well were there. What can you tell me about Rocks Your Socks?
And mention of the service. There's definitely a shift in expression. Maybe a very fleeting sort of sadness, though it's not like it's not a very overt thing. It just kind of touches her eyes for a moment. And she gets a little more withdrawn and a little quieter, but doesn't straight close off. And she'll mull the question over for a moment, kind of looking at her teeth thoughtfully, before she picks her head up again. Felix was a very good man. A very strong Theurge. And I think at times he underestimated himself and the good that he did this sept. He did so much for these people, and much of it went unremarked and unnoticed. But I saw. He gave his heart and soul.
Several people said that I had big shoes to fill.
If you mean to fill them, you do.
I mean to do what I can to be a Glasswalker Theurge on this set.
Just be careful not to get ahead of yourself. The Weaver here is very much aware of the wild, and not always pleased with it. Sometimes they will be amenable, and sometimes they will not be. Be careful not to push too hard. But at the same time, we need eyes in the city. We need access to the information that runs through the webs. And I cannot earn that. I'll advise you to perhaps take time. I do not know how much different camera spirits are from other net spiders. But the veil is of utmost importance, and there will be times that something must be tracked down, that someone is seen, and it must be unseen.
If 10-Point would like to roll her perception empathy.
I would. That is a thing that I am happy to do. Just let me double check my shit and not search the word 10 instead of going to my sheet, because that is not at all helpful. Nothing. Maybe she's caught up in her own thoughts, but whatever is blatant enough to give me.
Well, I was going to give you that she was looking like she was on the verge of, there was just something on her mind, and it was a bit uneasy. So when there's just like this long pause and nothing goes on, she'll finally kind of about that, Raya. So the veil shall not be lifted. It's a pretty important tenet of the litany.
All the more so inside a city, yes.
So that can sometimes be a problem for me.
How so?
My Kranos form doesn't people don't fall over catatonic when I take mine. Some of them are scared and they run. But it's not the fear from the curse. It's the fear of a giant furry creature with claws and teeth.
I remember everything.
She'll nod.
Just a bit of a sigh. Not annoyed with her, just kind of like the, oh, of course. Sigh.
Every little bit of help always comes wrapped up in a problem in this game.
It's true. She considers this for a moment, eyes kind of flicking about. Then make sure that missions you are on, make sure the warder knows, that the worm foe knows. For all that it is a weakness on your part, it is important to know that you will not provoke the delirium. It works in a pinch, but if someone decides to rely on you, not knowing, it could make for disaster.
My previous SEP knew of my shortcomings, and they put me on a more logistical approach.
Sadly, in this place, there are only so many of us, and we have our fair share of problems and enemies.
Yeah, they told me as much before I got here.
Then do you wish to report it yourself, or would you like me to make it known?
Well, what do you think is the better of the two ideas? You know these people a lot better than I do.
I can pass the information to other ranked guru so that they are aware.
You think it would be better coming from me or from someone that they're familiar with?
She kind of pauses, mulls it over, kind of rolls it around in her head for a couple moments. It may reflect better on you, Anrai, and give you a chance to meet various guru of station in the Sept. Just to make sure that any mission you may be called on, any outing, any fight, that those who run with you are aware so that they can fill in the gaps.
And she'll nod.
All the more reason, I think, to become familiar with the cameras, the spirits of information, so that should the information get out, it can be stopped.
And she nods. Any other advice you can give person in this protectorate?
And she considers it, raising a hand to kind of rub lightly at her cheek. And you can tell that she is sifting through a fucking mountain of various information about the Sept, the people in it, the things around it, potential issues, potential non-issues. I will make you aware that there is a camp in the northern forests of the state that is run and staffed by glasswalkers and their kin. You may wish to get in touch with Bill, Raya, or at least make yourself known to him, so that you can keep a firmer connection than what we do already. And should you meet the worm foe, William White Raya, there are certain things that are simply understood of you as a glasswalker. If you have any further affinity for the Weaver than that, I suggest you tactically fail to mention it in his presence.
Come again?
William White Raya is very well attuned to the wild. He understands it. He believes in it. It's only a matter of course that glasswalkers are more in tune with the Weaver. But I would not make it the subject of conversation in his company. He finds it distasteful.
Good looking out.
And in regards to the warder,
Murder hobo, I've met him.
then you know to call him boss and not Raya.
Yes.
He is very serious about that request. In case it was not already made clear.
It's no hair off my head.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like the expression that she's wearing is kind of the like he's no, seriously, he's serious. Like for real. Like it's the you can tell she's seen at least one person get their ass kicked by just the kind of expression she takes, like recalling something unpleasant. Probably more than one, really. I can ask no more than that. Make yourself known to other Guru of Station. Come to meet your setmates. Tend the spirits. Consider where you mean to sit. As a they urge. For now it is only the two of us, so the more that we can cover each other's blind spots, the better.
Does this sept allow dual positions? Because Aiden already approached me about something called a ranger.
And she considers that with a knit of brow. I'll speak to my Raya. In a way, I'm not sure how a ranger holds as rank. I'll have to give it some consideration, but if that is what he has asked, then his request will take priority.
She'll
Unless
nod.
you deem otherwise, of course.
Well, as long as people higher in station are giving me orders, just gonna do what I gotta do.
There's a faint smile.
I mean, you know, everybody likes to be useful, or thought of as useful at least.
It's true. And while taking orders is not always pleasant, being known as reliable is important.
Orders are orders.
They are indeed.
No matter if they're pleasant or not.
She finally, oh God, it's almost a normal, average smile at this point. But she still nods. Good. Very good. Then I will leave you to it, unless you wish to follow me on my rounds.
I should probably check in with my kinfolk. They were getting a loft above their place set up.
And she just kind of nods acknowledgement.
I didn't want to leave Sept until I'd spoken to Beaver, so go home, maybe change, and not wear the clothes I've been wearing for like the past 18 hours.
There's just kind of that, like, by all means hand wave inviting her to, like, you're good. You can go anytime you want. Just kind of little, like, gesture. Go
And
then. See to your kin.
she'll smile, and she'll pick up her laptop and put it into the satchel, and then She pulls out a package, the double package of Twinkies, and she opens it. Kind of takes a bite out of half of one, and as she goes to turn to leave, she stops, looks back at 10 Point, and then holds out the package with the second Twinkie still in it.
And 10 Point looks a little perplexed initially, but we'll accept with a bit of a nod. Have a good evening, Unrai.
You have a good one too, Raya. And she'll step back and then make her way. Oh no, she'll just pop out a mirror and
And do her thing.
And do her thing.
And as she departs, the 10 Point will begin pulling a violin case out of her bag and prepare herself to play there at the Cairnheart. And I suppose with her starting off her Twilight song, we're in a good place to say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. And we will see you next time in the living world of darkness rage across New York.